This week's episode is brought to you by Tonal. Tonal is the smart at-home gym that replaces every machine in the weight room and has personal training programs built in so you'll never have to go to the gym again.
They also just added Apple Music.
So now you can sync with your Apple Music playlists and pick all your own songs.
Try Tonal for 30 days risk-free. Visit www.tonal.com for $100 off the smart accessories when you use promo code THECLIPOUT at checkout.
That's www.tonal.com, promo code THECLIPOUT. Tonal, be your strongest.
My biggest turning point was when we lived in Puerto Rico in 1983 to 1985. And I was going to this class at the community center called the workout class. And, you know, so I'd go every day or whatever, and it was a bunch of the spouses. And it was Jane Fonda, you know, on steroids with the heavy hands and the leg warmers and, you know, all that. So it was the headbands. So it was that era. And I remember the girl that was teaching, her son got stuck in the eye, poked in the eye with a stick. So she called me and said, here's my boombox, here's my tape, you're it. And I said, well, when are you coming back? And she's like, I don't know. I'll be back. She never returned. So that class became my, you know, that was my beginning of aerobics.
It's more than just your output, more than a bike. When you hear your shout out, you know it's all right. Put on your magic pants and let's go. We're cruising into the power zone. Clip in, set yourself free. Come on and take a ride with me. You know what you need to know and what's it all about. Everything you need, it's on the Clip Out.
Welcome to the Clip Out, episode 171. This is Crystal O'Keefe.
And this is Tom O'Keefe. And if we sound even better than usual, maybe not better than usual, but as good as we used to, because last week we had to use the Zoom audio and to capture the show because our computer shot craps. And so we've got our new computer, we've got our new audio. It's all very exciting.
Now we just need new mic stands. And if you're on YouTube, you can see me fighting with it.
Yeah, so we're very excited to have that back.
We sure are.
So now that we sound extra normal.
I don't know that we ever sound normal, ever.
Touche. What do you have in store for people this week?
Oh my gosh. Okay, we've got some big news about some things that occurred.
That we do.
Yeah, so I'm not even going to tell you. I'm not even going to give you a teaser as to what it is. You're just going to stick around. There is so much huge news from Peloton this week. Just listen. Just listen. That's what you have to do.
Okay, well, before we get to all the big news, shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeart, TuneIn, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us. While you're there, be sure and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And also, if you would be so kind as to leave us a nice rating and review, that always helps. We have a new review.
Ooh!
I don't know who this is from. The screen name is MCH222222222. So
I don't know that one.
I think they have like triplets that are really into ballets. Is that how that works? 2222222. Yeah.
I see where you're going with that.
So my favorite weekend podcast, after years of debating over spending the money for a Peloton last April, I finally convinced my husband and we purchased the bike. I became instantly obsessed with all things Peloton. This sounds familiar.
It does.
I followed all the instructors, joined tons of Facebook groups, and stumbled upon the Clip Out. I gave it a listen 1 week over the summer and I was hooked.
Yay!
Crystal and Tom cover it all. I look forward to the weekend to hear them recap all things Peloton. They are funny, informative, and great interviewers who let their guests tell their story while keeping the audience engaged and laughing throughout. I always look forward to their Peloton Profit segments and also to hearing their opinions on all things Peloton related. If you are a Peloton lover, this is the podcast for you. Mindy Matthews, Lexington, South Carolina. Leaderboard name, Mindy Rides. Thank you, Mindy.
Oh, Mindy, that was so nice. Thank you for such a lovely review.
And it's nice for her to have such a pleasant personality because I bet you she has spent the entirety of her life getting Mork jokes.
Well, if she hasn't, she just needs to meet you.
No. I would refrain. I'm just acknowledging what a struggle that must have been, but I'm not going to make the Mork joke. Just acknowledge that I'm sure it has become the bane of her existence.
I'm sure that is true.
Which, interestingly enough, the actor who played Mork's father, Conrad Bain. No, Conrad Bain was Different Strokes. Anyway, off on a tangent. Anyway, back to shameless plugs. Don't forget, you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/theclipout. While you're there, like the page, join the group, and join our newsletter list at theclipout.com, so you'll get all the show notes and links and photos, and there are photos this week you're probably going to want to see, and a couple different stories. You can sign up for all that at theclipout.com, and of course, if you're ever looking to just help us out, you know what the easiest thing you can do? Doesn't cost you a dime. I mean, if you want to spend a dime or more, you can go to click the donate button. Just share an episode in your Facebook feed. And that's what I got to do.
You know, that's really helpful. People underestimate how helpful that is. But we have had so many people that have found us by other people sharing. So please never underestimate that. Even if you shared it before, share us again.
Absolutely. And if you just can't get enough of us, or you want to see the pictures while we talk about them, check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/theclipout. While you're there, subscribe to that as well, because we just can't get enough of you, and you can't get enough of us. So there's all that. Let's dig in, shall we?
We shall.
Breaking news.
So late last week, there was a bit of a security breach discovered within the Peloton ecosystem.
Yeah.
Woof.
Yeah.
So turns out they were, unbeknownst to them, sending live feeds from at least 2 of their studios. We have reason to believe all 3 of their studios, but we could only confirm what the Tread studio and the yoga studio, but they were sending out live 24-hour feeds from their studios.
They were. I'm pretty sure this is what you would refer to as a nightmare for security, to have images such as a dark studio. I mean, you could actually watch people clean the studio.
Yeah, I couldn't tell. Was that a cleaning crew, or was that like a tech crew?
I think it was a tech crew.
Okay.
And you could see the people getting the instructors ready.
Yeah.
And you could see what the studio looks like when there's absolutely no cool accent lighting. So yeah, it was very interesting. And of course, this led into the whole reason that the story broke last week, that everyone thinks that the rumor is going around that Jess King will soon be a tread instructor.
Right. The story that you broke last week on the Clip Out, in the Clip Out Facebook group.
Yeah. That
she's going to be a tread instructor, because we were sitting there, watch her record what would appear to be her debut on-demand tread class.
Yeah. And since then, Peloton saw that this was happening. They have removed the feed. And that's why we're comfortable sharing this information with you. I mean, because we don't want anything to happen to Peloton. Right. We love Peloton. This would be destructive to Peloton if their competitors were to find out about it.
Absolutely. And so it was corrected, midday on Saturday.
Yeah.
And so we felt like, okay, well, now it's more of a humorous story that no real damage can occur from it.
Exactly. So, I'm really curious to hear what everybody's take on that is.
That's an interesting one. So,
like I said, to me, I think you just described that as a freaking nightmare.
Yeah. So luckily it doesn't seem like it really had any major repercussions. It's just kind of a humorous anecdote at this point.
Yes.
But man, you hear so many stories about people getting caught in a hot mic saying stuff. And like sometimes those people, if the things they're saying on a hot mic, they shouldn't be saying when they're not on mic. So you don't feel too bad for them. Not insinuating that that's what's going on with any of the instructors. But still, you're joking around with your friends, and, you say something that you might not say in front of everyone. Not that that's something I wake up in a cold sweat from all the time.
Well, it's one of those things that when you think nobody's listening, sometimes you're just venting. You know,
Right,
like you might
totally.
just be blowing off steam and just saying stupid things, and so you don't want people to judge you by that. And it's just, it wasn't fair to anybody involved. It was basically like somebody having.
It was eavesdropping.
It was eavesdropping.
Yeah.
It was like somebody having a video cam in your bedroom and you didn't know about it. Like, it's super creepy.
Well, you shouldn't be doing that stuff you do in your bedroom. In the tread
Okay,
studio.
I'm just saying that
The
like,
yoga studio, maybe, because of all the flexibility that goes on. That's a little different.
But
We'll
you-
allow that.
You get what I'm saying? Like
Totally.
they didn't know that
Right.
it was happening. So it's Anyway, it's all fixed.
It's all fixed, and we're glad that it was discovered before it became a major issue for them. That's the last thing that they need. But revealed within that is that it looks like Jess King's going to start adding the tread classes to her repertoire.
It does look as though that is the case.
There has just been a bevy of information about Peloton strength coming.
It is clear to me that Peloton has some big news coming.
Yeah.
Big news coming about Peloton. Shall we talk about the job posting first?
I think we start with the job posting.
Okay. All right. VP Product Marketing, Peloton Strength. So my understanding is this was only up for a few days.
Right.
Okay. But you can still find it out there on the internet, because once you put things on the internet, they're like out there forever. So
Right.
it's still live on a few boards. But the part that is absolutely fascinating is this responsibility: acting as the marketing general manager for Peloton Strength, an emerging content discipline and completely new and confidential connected fitness category for Peloton Interactive.
So the question you got to ask yourself is, how do you, and is there a way to even do this? How do you advertise for a job, but within the posting basically be like, oh, but don't tell anybody?
I don't know. That's a great question. I was told that people who were watching this said that it was only up for 4 days. So
Yeah.
either they found somebody really quick or we'll see it again. I don't know. But it's also fascinating because I hadn't talked about this yet because it was kind of small news, but in conjunction with this, it's kind of larger news that Rebecca Kennedy was a master instructor of strength, and she has now become a director of strength. And I asked her, I said, was this a promotion? And she said, yes, it was. And I said, so what exactly does this mean for your job duties? And no response.
Interesting.
Right. So, she did nothing wrong by not sharing that
Sure.
with me. I'm sure she was doing the right thing, as a matter of fact. But
If she would like to keep paying her rent.
Right,
yes.
right. But you got to wonder. So you put this into place, then you take the new Rebecca Kennedy, instructor role, and then you roll in the new AI role that we just talked about.
Right.
About a month ago, a few
Sure,
weeks ago.
something like that.
And your brain goes kind of crazy. Like, are we talking a potential tonal kind of thing here? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, like this certainly is starting to sound it's less about content and classes and more about equipment. I mean,
know.
obviously, equipment would have content and classes, but
Right. No. I know what you mean, though.
But that it sounds like it's more about equipment, and we haven't heard anything about the rower in a long time. And I've always thought the rower just seems so niche that it seemed odd that it would be their next quote unquote big thing. And so I don't know.
I don't know either. And then, of course, they also had some surveys that came out to a lot of people that do strength classes, asking them what kind of strength classes they want to see. If you are a tread user or strength user, you saw that survey.
Right.
And so my point is that there is something big happening with strength. We don't know what it is. But, I mean, my mind can go all kinds of places with the potential here. So I am eager to see the call on September 10th, the earnings call.
Yeah.
Will things be announced? Will they be announced before? Will they be announced after? I don't know, but I am.
Watch this space.
Yes.
So Cody had a Valentine's Day ride series.
Yeah, it was called XOXO,
Right.
and it was back in like January or February-ish, and they ended it, of course, the end of that. But the interesting thing is that today they haven't had an instructor like capsule collection in forever, and today one dropped, and it was all XOXO clothes from Cody. So there were a couple sweatshirts and t-shirts, and now they're announcing that the series is coming back in September. So for those of you Cody fans who want to make sure you get in on the Ride series, it is coming back, and you can pick up your swag to go with it.
Peloton stock ticker.
So returning this week, John Mills, who has his finger on the pulse of, well, a lot of things, but for our purposes, the business end of Peloton. It sounds like a film noir film.
It does.
I'm going to hit you with the business end of this Peloton.
That sounded deep.
I know, right? That's purely an accident, I assure you.
Honestly, you get pretty deep in your posts. I love that, though.
Well,
I love that.
I feel like I should have glasses on or something like that.
It'll catch up with you eventually. That's get your readers out.
You can edit it in this week whenever you post your clip. You can edit in some little glasses.
Like Snapchat filter for glasses.
There you go.
So this week, you kind of came across some interesting patent information regarding Peloton.
Well, yeah, it was really interesting. Paul Bradley, a member of the group, sent it to me this morning. So we're texting back and forth. He's like, John, I just noticed this request, a patent request that looks like it was submitted recently. So I pull it up. I'm looking at it. It looks like it was submitted on May 4th, and it was published on August 20th. Doesn't mean it was granted. It was just made public. So that process is still occurring. But my immediate reaction was to scroll to the bottom of the document. Ultimately, these things are like continuations. So they also filed for patent late 2019. And so Peloton's now filing with some additional information. And all of that previous patent information is in the same document. So you got to figure out what in there is different. So I initially scrolled to the end, near the end, and I saw the gamification section, which is why my mind immediately went to, oh, this aligns, right? I mean, we've been hearing John Foley talk about gamification. I mean, he talked about it in the Q2 earnings call. He talked about it in the Q3 earnings call. We keep hearing about gamification, but we haven't seen it in some big kind of way yet. We saw it in small ways, not in a big way. So that's where my mind was, this is the new stuff. And when you read that, it talks about, well, we're going to allow for mini competitions, prior to or within a class. The user can create their own mini competitions. It talks about an ability to, from a central location, recalibrate and normalize bikes so that if you're in like real-time competition, like everybody's operating at on a level playing field. And so I was like, oh, wow, until I realized all that information is also in the document that they actually published late last year. Right.
Well, I think it was in the 2015, but a patent attorney weighed in on my post after I found your post, and they said that they have to include the original language.
Okay.
So them including that original language doesn't mean like, oh, nothing's happening now.
Right.
And then Paul Bradley pointed out, but now there's images attached that were not attached before.
Right. The imagery is a little bit different, and that kind of suggests that it may be related to gamification. My mind wants to believe it's still related to gamification. Like I'm still kind of drawn to that being the premise, but we'll see. I hope those things apply. Well, it obviously suggests that is like their path. That's a path that Peloton wants to take. So,
well, two things popped into my head. One, this is interesting timing given that it wasn't that long ago we had the All-Star Ride where you have to wonder if they used some kind of ability to calibrate everybody across the board evenly.
Right. But then when you look at some of those scores, you think maybe not.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Or maybe that kind of pushed this idea forward quicker.
Yeah, totally. That could have been a kick in the butt because, you might have trouble getting athletes to do that again if they feel like somebody's got a juice bike, whether it's purposeful or not, then they look like an idiot.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I was thinking the same thing. So I was actually really excited about hearing about both of those items. We'll see.
We will. We will. And also with the call just around the corner, you can't help but wonder, are we gonna see some of these things? Are we gonna hear some of these things be announced? Because there's a lot of new things. There's got to be a lot of new things coming to Peloton's market, because it's coming to the market in general. And Peloton is not known for sitting back and letting others take over. So
we've heard a few things and we've seen a few rumors, and some folks have let a few things, slip. And so we know some things, kind of the grand things, but yeah, I suspect there's something that we're just not ready for. We'll see.
So on the heels of that, you also came across an interesting contraption from Nautilus.
Yeah, that thing. Nautilus, right? So
I'm like, am I in my high school gym class?
Oh, Nautilus. Okay, so Nautilus goes into 2019. They released their Max Trainer M6 and M8. They're thinking these things are going to continue with all this success. Then in May, they report Q1 numbers, and they're like somewhere between 30 and 40% down year over year. And then 3 months later, they report Q2, and same thing. And I mean, it looks like the Max Trainer just didn't do what they thought it was going to do. My thought is connected fitness hit. And
they're making carburetors when everybody's using fuel injectors.
Exactly, right? So they're just struggling. And then late 2019, they release their Journey platform, which is their digital platform, in preparation for devices or bikes or equipment that are going to be similar to Peloton. They're going to be in the connected fitness space. And like within that same month, they released their Bowflex C6 bike. So they're like on this connected fitness path. So then in February, they do their Q4 2019 call. And on it, it's like the most depressing kind of sounding call. They're like, we're late.
They were playing sad trombones. They were like, wah, wah.
Right. we're late to this game. And, we're going to try to catch those big competitors out there. They're talking about Peloton. Like, we're going to try, we're late. All of a sudden, they report Q1, right, in May, and everything's back ordered. Their C6 bike is back ordered. Their Schwinn bike is back ordered. Those what are those things? Those Bowflex Select Tech weights that you adjust. They're back ordered.
Yeah.
Right, everything's back ordered. So COVID hits. They can't keep product. They can't. It's just selling out, right? And so now I think they've taken another leap. So those bikes prior were all bikes that didn't really have a screen. You had to use your own.
Yeah.
Right.
This Velocore bike is the first one that has a built-in screen. So I see this in two ways. One, it's their first real attempt to try to compete with Peloton. And two, I think they thought this is not only we're competing, but we're taking it to the next level. I think that was their mindset with the leaning thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a little too gimmicky for me, for my taste. Like, I don't know. It may sell really well. Actually, I actually think it will.
I think it will. I think it will, because it appeals to people who don't have a Peloton, and you're like, oh, well, I want something different. Regardless of whether it sells well or it doesn't sell well, I have to give them points for at least they freaking did something different.
Yeah.
That is true. Yeah, I mean, so the side to side thing, I mean, I guess it's kind of cool if you're looking to replicate actually riding a bike,
right.
But from an exercise standpoint, does it really behoove you?
Well, they're saying, and I don't know what the studies are, but they're saying that it helps your core, because like you're Tom, you don't know.
Sure.
Okay. So, that not being stable when you work out, that works your core. So if you're like on a ball and you're kind of leaning back and forth, that works your core. And so this should, in theory, do the same thing. Now you're leaning on a bike and you got to pull yourself back up. So you should be using your core.
Right. I mean, if anything, I think it creates buzz. I do think it's going to sell. I think it's going to sell well. But also, not only because of that, I think also because their platform on this particular bike, they opened up so that users can get to things like Netflix, like they have a Netflix app built in, right? And
yeah,
like Hulu and Amazon Prime, they got like things built in. So, and those are the things that you've heard Peloton do complain about.
So here's my question. They got a Netflix app. They got a Hulu app. Do they have a Peloton app?
I think
That's
you can.
hilarious. Yeah. Because they have like this little section where you can like sit your own tablet and just ignore the big one behind it and take like a Peloton digital class.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It's just like throwing up your hands.
Right.
F it.
Well, and this isn't the first time we've seen that. You know, there's been other companies that have been like, oh, well, we don't have a Peloton thing, so here's a tablet, and you can just go ahead and access Peloton right through our tablet.
So will this bike have a monthly fee? Do we know?
Well, the monthly fee is just like Peloton. The monthly fee is relative to their Journey digital subscription app. I don't remember the cost, but I think it's similar. I think it's $39 a month, something similar.
Gotcha.
So yeah, right in the same ball. Most of them are right in that range.
Sure.
In the space. So this is their first. Again, I think this is their first venture into the true kind of competing. I think the mid-level price of this bike is like $16.99. Has a smaller screen. Then they got one that's $21.99 that has a screen the same size Peloton, 21.5 inches or 22 inches, something like that.
22.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that I think there's so many folks looking for variety and looking for something to use at home to get fit that all those players are going to do well. I think this is
yeah, as you've said before, you know, there's enough pieces for everybody to get a piece, but yeah.
That's fascinating.
It is fascinating.
Pretty wild, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I guess before we go, where can people find you?
They can find me in my group or page on Facebook, Run, Lift, and Live. They can find me on Instagram, Run, Lift, and Live, or they can check out my runliftandlive.com website.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
All right, good seeing you guys.
Bye, John.
Bye.
Peloton in the news.
John Foley was on the Masters of Scale podcast.
He was. It is episode 70. And this podcast is all about business. So in this particular episode, they're talking about, you know, he gets to tell his story, which I love hearing him tell the story about how everyone told him no and nobody would buy into Peloton.
I was going to tease you about enjoying hearing the story over and over again, but then I realized how much that benefits me in our relationship. So
yeah, you should just be like, that's nice. Oh, it's a great story though. And if you haven't heard John Foley tell it, well, don't forget he's been interviewed by us, so don't forget to listen to that episode.
True.
But also, I'm sure he had new things to say, and he always is very much himself, which I super appreciate. And you can hear that on episode 70, Masters of Scale with Reid Hoffman.
And then Tunde was on the Today Show.
Well, I think that she was interviewed by Today.com.
Okay.
So,
I thought I saw something that said the third hour. So is that an online only thing?
No,
or is that
you're probably right. It's just that the transcript is in here. So I thought that it was only, you know, like an interview.
Gotcha.
Because like it goes through the questions that they asked her and it's a whole article. So that's why I thought that. So to be honest, I do not truthfully know either way. That's pretty terrible. But I will share my screen for those of you following along on YouTube. I think that there are a ton of people based on the messages that I got this week who had no idea that Tunde once weighed 200 pounds when she was a teenager.
Right.
And that she has had this amazing journey to end up being a fitness trainer who's in badass shape. Like, I mean, she's buff. Like, look at those arms. Like, that lady, there's not an ounce of fat on her. Just not an ounce.
There is not.
And but this story, obviously, Tunde's story is not just that. Tunde has a great story. Everybody has a great story. They're not just their weight. If you haven't had a chance to get to know Tunde, I feel like this is a really good article that captures the essence of who she is as a person.
Yeah.
And again, we have interviewed Tunde.
Yeah.
So make sure that you check out our episode as well, because she told some of her stories and she talked about her family and where she grew up. And it's another really great interview. So make sure you check both of those out.
Just real quick, kind of spinning off of that, the fact that the Today Show was talking to her, I wonder if that's kind of indicative of what we can expect, because with NBC Universal having sold off all their Peloton stock, we had kind of wondered if this means that we will see less of Peloton within the NBC Universal universe. But the fact that they're doing something like this makes you think maybe not.
I don't know, because I also don't know when that got recorded relative to when the shares got sold. So that's
fair.
Very good question.
But you also got to figure if they were looking to jettison mentions of Peloton because they didn't own stock, then they would there's lots of stuff that never sees the light of day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I hope it is. I hope it is representative that we'll get to see things, because there's so many really cool people that are instructors at Peloton. They have such great personalities. They've done so many cool things. They're great leaders in a lot of ways that I think it's good. Not only good for Peloton, it's good for people being able to hear their perspective as a person, not just on a bike or not just on a tread, giving direction.
Absolutely. So I find this fascinating. I'm really looking forward to the picture of this one. So there's a bear riding a Peloton. So that sounds adorable. How's PETA think? Have they chimed in on this?
So honey,
yes,
it's like the sports bear.
Oh, so he's got like a helmet on? Oh, this just keeps getting cuter.
No.
Share your screen, honey. What are you doing?
I am going to share my screen.
I want to see this hat wearing bear on a bicycle.
Like a football player.
That's an actual human being.
Right, because it's the football Bears, like the Chicago.
No, the Bears were baseball. Kelly Leak.
Is it really baseball?
No.
Are you messing with me?
Well, the bad news Bears. Ogilvy, Kelly Leak, Looper.
No.
Lupus.
He is a linebacker for the Chicago Bears.
Oh.
There we go.
Now it makes a little bit more sense.
And why
I don't and no disrespect to this man, because he could just snap me in two.
He could.
It's not as cute as I thought it was going to be.
I understand,
okay.
But he was never a fuzzy bear, so
right.
that's why.
I know. I feel like I've been misled.
So, so this is actually a really funny story, because their interview got pushed back, and by the time they got to do their interview, he decided to multitask, and he met on Zoom while working out on his Peloton.
That makes sense, because I do know, all joking aside, that a lot of these sports leagues now they've acquired Pelotons for their athletes, and you have benchmarks that you have to hit. That's their way of knowing that you're actually working out, because normally they would make you come in and work out so they can keep tabs on you.
And then they can see.
Right. And so now, because of social distancing, they can't do that. So Pelotons have been a way to make sure that they're actually working out and progressing or maintaining the fitness level that the team expects and pays handsomely for. So I'm sure he's like, no, man, you're late. I'm not stopping this. My bonuses are tied to it.
There was a lot of speculation. What on earth does his output look like? I'm guessing he averages about 1 million. So funny. I love this one. So, of course, you will be able to get this article if you have if you're subscribed to our newsletter, and you also can find it in our Facebook group and on our Facebook page. The clip out, in case you guys didn't know.
So I'm the one that orders the Run a Show topics. You pick them. I put them in the right order, and I messed up because I should have put this one right after the Tunde one. So we'll circle back around. Tunde has an Athleta Girl event.
Yeah, it's another awesome collaboration that she is joining up with Athleta Girl, and she is talking to them about being healthy as teenage girls. So it's a great experience. And my understanding is that like the general public can join it.
Oh,
so
wow.
I don't know the process that you have to go through to do it, but just kind of think it's fascinating that we're starting to see all these collaborations with all the different instructors.
And that sounds like a great one, because when she was on the show, she talked about so many of her struggles when she was a teenage girl.
Yeah, I was listening to it not too long ago, and I don't know if this is what you're referring to specifically, but it got to me that she had the same issues when she went into a gym. She was scared to go and work out in a group, and she was scared to use the weights. And so I think that's fabulous that she's talking to teenagers about that specifically.
So I was doing some digging around, and I actually came up with a story. I found what I think is news for people.
Pretty sure it's news for people, Tom.
So
it was news to me.
Well, if it's Peloton related and it's news to you, then I deserve a pat on the back.
You do.
So Aditi Shah has an acting career before she came to the wonderful world of Peloton.
I never knew that.
Yes.
I never knew that.
So it turns out, as you can see if you're following along on YouTube, that here she is on an episode of Inside Amy Schumer. And if you watch this episode, I believe it's episode 2, season 3, called Cool With It, I believe. So then the next one is from HBO's Crashing.
Oh.
So, which I believe, dang it, I'm blanking on what, but this was from episode 3 of Crashing as well.
The next one's my favorite.
And then the next one is from CBS's show Elementary, and this is from season 6, and it's from an episode, it's got worms in the title. It's like the worms crawl in, the worms crawl out. And I saw her in the credits, and I was trying to find her. And the only reason we didn't talk about this last week is because I couldn't find her in the episode.
Well, she's literally hidden.
And so I felt bad because I was like, what's wrong with me that I can't find her in the episode? And then when I finally found her, she's literally camouflaged. So she's against a wall with a pattern, and they painted the exact pattern of the wall onto her.
Yes.
So as I'm scanning through, because I'm not watching a full episode of Elementary, I'm not a 75-year-old woman. And so, but I love Columbo, so who am I to talk?
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's like literally camouflaged. She's in the opening scene of the show, so if you want to go find it, it is available on Hulu. If you want to go find it, she's in the very opening scene of Elementary, season 6, the episode with worms in the title. So there's a little background on the acting history of Aditi Shah.
That is a really cool find, Tom. I'm really, I'm very excited that you found it, and I'm so proud.
Yeah.
I'm so proud.
It's been 3.5 years. I figured I could put in a little effort, so
thanks.
I should be set until 2023. There's an interesting Kickstarter for a Peloton documentary.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. So Ty Adranis, who was on just a few episodes ago, when he was talking about the tour. Mm-hmm. And he's raising money with the hopes of creating a documentary. And the idea would be to go around the country.
Right, the 48 contiguous states.
Yes, be very specific about that. Filming stories about the bike that goes nowhere. And they're going to take the bike. The cool thing is they want to take the bike with them. Right. And literally plug it in next to cool landmarks. Like, they're going to stop in St. Louis. So I'm imagining, and Ty, you're not held to this. This is my image that you are doing. He's going to pull up next to the arch.
Right.
And they're going to like do an interview at the arch while riding a Peloton.
Yeah.
Hooked up. I mean, that's cool.
I heard that when he's in St. Louis, he was going to ride the Peloton while getting mugged.
Oh, well, he's going to have to go a little east for that. Just across the river.
Yeah. But yeah, so like, but that sounds pretty spiffy. So if you want to check that out, we'll put a link to it in the show notes. And then, of course, in the newsletter that we send out that you can subscribe to at theclipout.com.
Yeah. And if you're wondering if it's like worth your time to go look, the cool thing is that you can submit your story to be considered, even if you don't back. Like, not saying you'll get picked, but they are going to pick some people at random who did not donate. They're also hoping that you will back them, and then they'll choose people from that pool as well. And there's several different ways that you can back it. So it's not like you have to donate $1,000.
There's
to be
all
considered.
sorts of the way these Kickstarters work, because we've participated in a few over the years, and there's all sorts of different levels. So normally there's levels that are as low as $5 or $10, all the way up to like you had to mortgage your house.
Yeah, and this one starts at 10, so you can get in real easy if that's interesting to you at all.
New content.
There's some new artist collaborations, either that just occurred or are about to occur, depending on when you listen.
Yeah, the one that occurred this week was Ben Aldis collaborated with Ministry of Sound, and so it was all of very, club.
Right.
There you go. You do that much better than I do. And
I'm gonna do it the whole segment.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't stop giggling if you're going to do that.
I have to stop. I'm about to hyperventilate.
Yeah, so he did a whole class for Ministry of Sound. Very cool. They're starting to pull in the UK instructors more for these artist collaborations.
Yeah.
So I was excited to see this one. That's very cool.
Awesome. And then there's also one with The Weeknd.
Yeah, there's it has a ton of classes associated with it coming up. Although I'm thinking about it, I'm pulling up my my thread to look at it. I should have had this in my notes.
The Weeknd was actually supposed to be in St. Louis, I think, last night.
They were?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So they have several. So 8:26, which is today, 7:30 p.m. Eastern with Chase Tucker. There's a run. And then Anna Greenberg is doing a yoga flow. And Jess Sims is doing a stretch on demand. So,
awesome.
I'm sorry. I totally missed Jess King doing a ride today, too.
Sure that's not a tread class? Surprise.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
And then in the UK, there's a new collaboration going with John Lewis, which is a group of stores over there.
Yeah, it is. And they call it a concession.
Okay.
So they're having Peloton join their concession collaboration in several different cities. They started with the one in London, and they're basically, it's like a tiny, what we in the US would see as like one of their tiny showrooms, like the little ones, but they can get clothes there, and people can try out the bike. So it's very cool, and I believe it's a total of 10 different locations throughout the UK. So that's pretty cool.
And it's like a department store?
Yeah. John Lewis is, it's a department store. Tom's got to look it up.
I do.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with it, but apparently it's a big chain in the UK.
Okay. This is what I thought it was. John Lewis department stores, or whatever they call them over there. We say department stores. But they have the best Christmas commercials you will ever see.
Really?
Like Google John.
Wait, is this the one you've made me watch?
Yeah, and then you end up in tears.
Yeah,
every time.
that's them.
Yeah, and that's like kind of like their tradition is every year. And the commercials are they're like short films. They're 2 to 4 minutes long. And I think the one they did they've had a couple that have gone viral, but they had one that went viral a couple years ago, which was like the life story of Elton John, like as a little kid playing piano.
Oh,
and
wow.
it's like, oh my God, it's just like tugs at your heartstrings, but they all do. But like, seriously, this is a rabbit hole you want to go down.
Yeah, you have shown these to me, and Tom is right. You want to go down this rabbit hole. Like, take a moment and Google them. Remind me when I send out the newsletter this week, and I will include a link to one.
Hey, when you send out the newsletter this week.
Yeah, I was hoping you could remind me on Sunday.
Oh,
that's a little
on Sunday.
No, I mean actually on the day of Sunday.
Gotcha.
If you could.
And also include a picture of a bear on a bicycle.
Oh, Tom.
So Robin has teamed up with Adidas Women.
Okay, I know it's not the most sensational story this week because there's been a lot of stuff that has happened.
A lot of good stuff this week.
But let me tell you, this might be my favorite as a shopper.
Okay, as a shopper. I was
as a shopper.
I gave you Aditi Shah on Elementary.
I said as a shopper.
I have footage of Aditi Shah snorting cocaine. Fake cocaine. Fictionally.
Yeah, you need to add fictionally.
But she's still got footage of it.
Okay, but this was kind of groundbreaking and historical in its own way.
Right.
And I stumbled across it because I'm me.
This is what you do.
Yeah. And this is really cool. Robin teamed up with Instagram, which, first of all, Robin teamed up with Instagram. It's
pretty baller.
Yeah. And Adidas Women. Now, we know that Robin has been a spokesperson for Adidas for a long time.
Right.
But this was a collaboration like no other. It literally was the first time this has ever happened. They took Robin and had her open up her Adidas closet. Yes, just her Adidas closet, because yes, she has multiple. She has a Peloton closet too. And then she pulled out the new looks from the Adidas line,
right,
and showed us how she would put them together. Then all you had to do was click on @Adidas Women, their profile,
right,
boom, lookbook, and you could buy it right there.
Look at that.
In real time. I could just click and buy.
Ooh.
I know.
What did that cost us?
Well, actually nothing, because as much as I love the things that they were showing, Robin has a style that is very, how do I put it? It's so put together. Like her shoes match her clothes.
Right.
And I don't.
Like me with my hoodies.
It is, but her shoes cost $200 a pair.
Yeah. And
I would have to buy the entire outfit. Like
gotcha.
to look the way I would want it to look, I would have to buy each piece. So
it's like a $600 endeavor.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
So I didn't buy any of it. And I also felt like I would, like, at some point you're just copying somebody else, and that's
sure.
Like I like whenever I'm inspired by what they're doing, but I wouldn't know what to do with a piece of it. Do you know what I mean?
Totally. I know. I totally
have
know.
The entire outfit.
Yeah.
So I said no. You're welcome.
And then finally, there are HIIT cardio warm-ups now.
Yeah, brand new. So it's another piece of content coming. So if you remember, we had the warm-ups that started for strength last week. Now we have the HIIT cardio warm-ups. Also this week, brought to us by one of our listeners, we noticed that all of the profile pictures changed within the app. So there's a new one for boot camps, there's a new one for strength, etc. They don't look radically different, so I really had to compare side by side.
Right.
But they are different. So again, that kind of points to what I was saying earlier in the episode. Big things are coming down the pipeline.
It sure sounds that way.
Checking in with the Peloton community.
So joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is Debra Anzalone. Hey, Debra, how are you doing?
Great. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, well, so I always start with the first question. How did you originally hear about Peloton?
So my daughter and son-in-law bought a Peloton, and they were like, Mom, you've got to get this. And of course, I'm a spinning instructor, so I was like, I don't really know. I was a little resistant. I did not want to be replaced.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, I don't want one more thing that I have to be pressured to do.
Sure.
So I kind of said, let's wait a little bit, and so that's how I first heard about it. And I think they were probably one of the first to get a Peloton. So,
got some OGs.
So you were a spin instructor. Like, that's a ballsy move to go to your mom, who's a spin instructor, and be like,
get this spin bike so other people can teach you how to spin.
Yeah, like,
right? And I'm like, I have a bike. I don't need that. I know my own, I do my own classes.
Right.
And
Yeah. My mom owned a printing company, and I remember when Crystal and I got married, like, we bought the wedding invitations that you can custom do yourself, and I was just like, my mother is spinning in her grave that I'm not going to a printer to purchase these. So like that amazes me that they would do that. That's a bold move. That's a bold move. So how much time was there between when they suggested that you buy this thing designed to put you out of business and then you purchasing it?
So she actually got a comeback bike.
Oh.
So I guess how long was the process between, like, they told you about it, they tried to get you involved, they tried to suck you in, and then you were nominated for the comeback bike. What kind of time frame was that?
Probably 2 to 3 years. So it was a while.
You held your ground.
I kept manifesting it. I had the space picked out, and I was like, this is where the spin bike's going to be, and I'm a yoga teacher too. So I was constantly manifesting and visualizing that I was going to get one. So,
but Peloton's just coming after you at all angles.
Yeah, yoga.
That's my dream job. I want to be a Peloton instructor, like maybe in another life or.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, you never know. You should reach out to them. But so what did the comeback process look like? Like, what was the nomination process? How did all of that work?
So I got an email, and it basically said, just submit your story, send it here. So I was kind of like, yeah, I don't know, But I did. I wrote it up. And before I sent it to our older daughter, Tiffany, the one that has the Peloton bike. And I said, could you just take a look at this? Because she has a master's in mass communications from Louisiana State University. And she has her bachelor's from my alma mater, Boston College. And then my husband went to LSU, so she kind of went to both. So she, reviewed it. She goes, oh, Mom, looks great. So I sent it in. So then maybe in May last year, I'm riding in the car and I get this email. Oh, thanks for reaching out to the comeback program. Your story was really great, but unfortunately it wasn't selected. So I immediately send our daughter, a text message, and I said, I didn't get it, but that's okay. So then about a day later, I'm riding in the car again, and I look at my phone and I get this email and it goes, congratulations, you've been selected as a comeback recipient. So I was like, what? So I sent our daughter, another text message. I said, it said I won. And she goes, oh, great. She said, I submitted your story from my perspective, but I didn't tell you. So she's like, surprise. You get a Peloton. I was just like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. So,
oh my God, how exciting.
Wow. Well, that helps take the sting out of them trying to put you out of a job.
Yeah. It was great. And so July 16th, I got, the Peloton bike, the app, shoes
we're
for
like,
everyone.
We're like Peloton sisters because I got mine on the 15th, July 15th of 2016.
That's your anniversary too? Yeah.
That's my Peloversary.
That is so cool.
You have the same Peloton zodiac sign.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I got the Pelo anniversary email on the 15th, but they actually delivered it on the 16th, so we really are. We're twins.
It was just it was a long labor. You don't want one of those bad boys coming out breech, I'll tell you that.
Oh,
no.
Sorry. We've been watching Call the Midwife.
Yeah, it's true.
So breech babies are top of mind.
No, I'm a nurse too, so I know what that's like.
Oh my God, you do everything.
And tomorrow's my birthday, so
let me guess.
Happy birthday!
I know, this is like, I should go play the lottery.
So we're the same Peloton zodiac sign and the same zodiac sign because my birthday's coming up on the 20th.
Oh, is that
our
the
daughter
20th?
Tiffany's is the 19th.
Oh my God!
And
well,
I think
you were.
Didn't your son Brian just have a birthday and he just passed his test?
He
Yes.
did.
Congratulations.
We literally just took him for his first time driving.
Yes.
So
Oh my God.
Just before this.
if I sound panicky, that's why. When you said you were a nurse, the first thing I thought was how long until your kids try and get you to use Doctor on Demand? Like,
That's coming too.
yeah, they're like, let's just take everything away from her. I'm here to foment family strife for you.
And I'm married to a doctor, so there was the other part of it.
Yeah, so they can take you out both at the same time.
That's hilarious. Well, I'm curious though because you kind of started this whole journey with you weren't really interested in the Peloton, but at some point you started manifesting one. So like, what was that process for you? What changed your mind that you were like, I want one now?
I'm not real sure. I think I just was looking for something else, and I was looking for a community, which is what really drew me in unbelievably. Because even like the first year that I had it, I never really started, getting severely addicted to it until I joined the tour, which was the former Tour de Peloton with Ty. And I know Ty was on your show. But now it's like I have all these buddies, and they are always like, hey, you want to do a ride tomorrow? And I can't say no. So I think I'm up, last month I had 742.5 miles. And
Good
I'm
Lord.
up to 43 of 44 tours. So
Nice.
It's been great, especially with, being homebound, stay at home and, the isolation. It's been really a godsend to have such a great virtual community.
So I'm just curious, what was your comeback story? What was the tale that you wove for them, or that your daughter wove for them?
So Tiffany told the story from her perspective of when our younger daughter, Tracy, was hit by a car in Italy. She was studying abroad through University of Miami, but it was the Gonzaga and Florence program. So she was spending a whole year there, junior year abroad, where Tiffany had done it through the Medici program and just did one semester. So Tiffany said, Tracy, you need to really do the whole year. So she was starting her second semester of her junior year, and that was in 2003. And Tiffany had not spent summers with Tracy because we were living in Italy at the time. So Tracy kept asking Tiffany, come on over, quit your job and travel with me, you know, for 6 months or whatever. So Tiffany had just quit her job and got to Florence, where Tracy was. That was January 15th of 2003. And they were waiting for some other kids to come down to go to dinner. It was a Wednesday evening, about 8:15. And I get a call that she had been hit by a car. So, yeah, it was really weird. I was doing my playlist for spinning, and it was all Dave Matthews. And so I was sitting at the computer, you know, in Naples, writing up my playlist, and I get a phone call. And, you know, Italy was really good with cell phones back then. So I picked up the, you know, phone, and I'm hearing, oh, my God, Tracy's been hit by a car. She's laying in the street. They were all standing on the sidewalk, and two guys came around the corner in a pedestrian area, knocked down these big, huge iron, like posts that have the chains. And there was a moped that was kind of leaning on that, threw all that onto Tracy. So she was,
oh my God.
Yeah, she was the bigger of the two. She was probably like 145, 5'6", and was on the rowing team, the crew team at University of Miami. So she was the powerhouse on the crew team. And so because she was, you know, strong and muscular, because our other daughter, Tiffany, is 18 months older, she's more petite.
Gotcha.
So Tracy's laying in the middle of the street going to Tiffany, good thing it was me and not you. They're always very competitive with everything, because you would have been, you know, blah, blah, and I'm strong and all this. So she wasn't knocked out or anything, but she did have a tib-fib fracture, so broken ankle, and big laceration on her left side from her knee to her hip, and covered with gasoline from the moped. So basically,
oh my God,
they called the 911 came, and they took her to Florence Trauma Hospital, and they were, treating her there. I got there about 4 a.m. because we were in Naples. The reason why we were living in Naples is my husband was the commanding officer of the Navy Hospital in Naples, Italy. So he was actually in Sicily at a meeting at Taormina when it happened. So long story short, on the 16th of January, my husband got back to Naples, got an ambulance, drove up to Florence to bring Tracy back to his hospital. And then on the 17th, which was a Friday of January, that was 2003, she was going into surgery to have the IM rod put in her ankle to fix the broken ankle. And she ended up arresting. Basically what happened was the anesthesiologist gave her too much narcotics and not enough oxygen after extubating her. And so she was coded. It was so weird because we were waiting to go into the room. And I remember the corpsman said, to my husband, sir, do you want to go in before we get her all moved over and, situated? And he said, today I'm not a doctor or your CO, I'm a dad. So he said, just call me when you get her settled. So I was on the phone with my brother, who's a Catholic priest, and I was telling him it all went great. And all of a sudden I see the code cart go down the hall, and I looked around the corner and it was going into her room. And I was let me call you back, hold tight. So I hung up, and that's when we found out that she had arrested and they had to reintubate her, and she was in a coma. So from there we were medevac to Germany, to Landstuhl, to the Air Force hospital there, and they put an intraventricular catheter into her head, and then we were medevac on Martin Luther King Day. So it was that long weekend. We were medevac to Bethesda, to National Naval Hospital on a C-141. That was crazy because we were sitting backwards in the plane, and, they had her in a litter, and they had a trauma team with her. We were getting ready to land at Andrews Air Force Base, and one of the team came back and said, ma'am, I'm sorry, but we're not going to be able to land for a while. And I was like, oh, really? Why? And because Air Force One is in the air and they've cleared the airspace. And I'm like, I can't repeat what I said, but it was a couple of four-letter words. I'm like, you better land this plane. And this Sicilian came out of me, you know?
Yeah. Protective mom mode. Yeah. For sure.
So they finally landed and then, you know, got the ambulance to her and got her over to National Naval Hospital. And at that point, did CAT scans and she was swelling. And so she had a severe anoxic brain injury. She has a feeding tube and a baclofen pump, and we take care of her here, you know, at home. And what's very ironic is in 2000, when Payne Stewart's plane went down, my husband was for 5 minutes of fame on CNN, he was the expert on hypoxia. So, because he was in charge of the Naval Aerospace Medical Institute, where they train all the pilots and the flight surgeons. So he was on there talking about hypoxic events in 2000, and then, you know, our own daughter had an event in 2003. So can't make this stuff up, you know?
You cannot.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Good Lord.
I mean, that's just crazy, just how a random thing, you know,
and
just
it
a flip of a switch sets off this domino effect and completely changes your life.
Yeah.
Wow.
We figured 8 minutes without oxygen. So she actually, you know, died and they resuscitated her. So I believe she's here, you know, every day she makes other people stronger. She's the type of a person, she knew so many people and she was always doing for other people. I always feel like there's a reason, and she gives me strength. She's brought our entire family together, which we were really close, you know, typical Italian family, but even closer. But, you know, I remember during the summer of 2002, she came to Italy and she was lifeguarding and I was teaching spinning. So we hung out a lot together. And I remember asking her, I said, Tracy, what of your 5 senses, what is the one thing that you could not live without? And I remember her telling me she could not live without exercise because she was a fitness fanatic, you know?
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of, you know, where we're at right now because she's a spastic quadriplegic. She can't, she can only move her head and she can blink twice for yes, shake her head no. But even through that, she is such a mentor and a role model for so many people. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Whew.
That's
so I really
Yeah.
was able to survive 10 months at National Rehab Hospital with her, you know, and one of us would stay with her every night and I was there every day. So the nights I had off, I would go back to our apartment and I'd get on my spin bike and I would just turn the music up, you know, and scream.
I bet.
Spin for 2 hours, you know, and cry. And so that really was a cathartic event for me. And it was if it was today, I would be bringing the Peloton bike into her hospital room. And that's
I don't blame
I would set up shop there, but yeah.
So I know that you mentioned when we were talking offline that fitness has always been important to your family. And so it feels like that might be one aspect of it. You've used it as an ability to deal with pain and stress and kind of processing things. And it sounds like you as your entire family has done that forever. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. When I was in high school, I really was, you know, more of like a intramural sports person. I played B squad field hockey. You know, I went to a Catholic school until 8th grade, and they did their definition of gym was going down to lower campus and playing dodgeball. You know?
I went to Catholic schools, and that must be in the catechism because it's the same, like, same thing
for you.
And yeah, like it was the same way when I was a kid. Yeah.
So that was, you know, I didn't really have a lot of gym at the time, but I remember I started running in high school, just going out and running in my neighborhood. And I would run like to the downtown because we lived on a top of a hill in Winchester, Massachusetts. So I would run all the way downtown and my uncle would be like, how long did that take you? And I would be like, oh, you know, whatever. And he'd be, you couldn't do that. That can't be possible. And I'm like, yeah, you know, so I really found running at that point. And then when I went to Boston College, they had an amazing sportsplex that was, you know, like 2 feet away from where I lived in these modular apartments on campus. So we would go to the, sportsplex all the time and work out then. And I started running marathons, and my family would, follow me around and give me water bottles and, feed me and, and the kids were always there to cheer me on. So I did that. But I think my biggest turning point was when we lived in Puerto Rico in 1983 to 1985. And I was going to this class at the community center called the workout class. And, so I'd go every day or whatever, and it was a bunch of the spouses. And it was Jane Fonda, on steroids with the heavy hands and the leg warmers and, all that. So it was the headbands. So it was that era. And I remember the girl that was teaching, her son got stuck in the eye, poked in the eye with a stick. So she called me and said, here's my boombox, here's my tape, you're it. And I said, well, when are you coming back? And she's like, I don't know. I'll be back. She never returned. So that class became my, that was my beginning of aerobics. And so I was pretty much self-taught at the time because we were living in Puerto Rico. Everything was in Spanish, and there was really, you couldn't just YouTube a class or anything.
Right.
So I started, choreographing classes to the music and built on that. So the biggest culmination of that class was I got asked to teach the construction battalion, the CBs. They had about 400 guys, and they were all doing their 5:30 a.m. PT, and they said, would you like to come out and lead us in your workout? So I brought my entourage with me, and they set up a boxing ring outside at the end of the island. So we were in the boxing ring, and they were all around us. And so we did the whole, 90-minute class for the CBs. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. That was cool.
Were they participating or were they just staring and trying to figure out what was going on here?
Maybe both.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hey, whatever gets the heart rate up, right? That's good. Counts as cardio, right? That sounds like a Judy Garland musical. Like, oh, the lead actress has broken her ankle, and you get to take over the. Yeah, you're the star now. You're the star.
So I just kind of winged it for a little bit, and then I, got into my own rhythm, but.
Then when you leave Puerto Rico, it sounds like you lived in a lot of really cool places. Like you've really seen the world, which is great. You leave Puerto Rico, you presumably leave that aerobics class behind. Well, what's your next step to being like, I'm going to keep being an instructor?
So then I get back to, from Puerto Rico, we went to Jacksonville. So I had to get certified because in Puerto Rico, there wasn't any certification. So I went to a workshop and got certified by the Aerobics and Fitness Association of America, which is now the Athletics and Fitness Association of America. So I had to go through that whole thing and become a group exercise leader or whatever. So I've continued on with those certifications. So that was, kind of the first step. And then I started teaching. I taught the Jacksonville University baseball team, different venues. So it was pretty cool. So I kept that up. And then in 1999, we were living in Key West. So I decided I wanted to become a spinning instructor. I really got into the spinning scene. So I got certified by Mad Dog, Johnny G, in 1999. And I've been pretty much teaching, ever since, except for the hiatus with Tracy's accident. I've been teaching spinning, and then I got certified to teach yoga when we moved here in, Lighthouse Point, which is between Fort Lauderdale and Boca Raton. So I got my 200-hour registered yoga teacher certification, and then went back and got an advanced one in Costa Rica.
Nice.
Gosh,
so my name is
amazing.
Spoga Deb is my leaderboard name, and it's for spin plus yoga equals Spoga. So.
I love that.
That's nice. So are you still, obviously I shouldn't say obviously, you're probably not instructing at the moment because of the pandemic, but are you still an instructor, or what's that looking like?
And we went back to teaching in June. So it's a small yacht club that's in our neighborhood. And, we socially distance. They have to wear their masks. We wipe down all the equipment. The class is probably 5-6 6 people so they can be, 10 feet apart. So
I'm sure that like really kind of checks a lot of boxes for you though, because it gets you out of the house, makes your brain work in a different way, probably helps with like loneliness and also just like changing up the pace. I know it's hard for me. Like I love being able to work from home. It's amazing, but it also is very isolating and I have to make myself go for a walk every morning and I have to make myself reach out to people and talk to them. Otherwise I would go a little stir crazy.
And I think that's where like the tour came in for me because like now I have people, I have Peloton buddies and they'll say, hey, let's do this tomorrow. And I'm getting into the Power Zone pack, that whole Power Zone training. So here's another thing. I keep, I got to do this 3 times a week. And then I got to do 2 tours a week. So it's like, I'm on the bike a lot. My family thinks I'm insane. I mean, they're like, my sister sent me a shirt that says Pelo Addict, and I'm like, yeah. And when I don't work out, I feel, ugh,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really helps to be able to work out and keep moving. And I think it helps with everything going on right now. It just helps you process and it helps you move in a different way. I don't know. It just really helps my mental state. And I feel like it helps a lot of people being able to do that. Yeah. Since you're a spin instructor, what is it like? Do you sit there and think about the classes that you would create when you're taking other classes, or how does that work? Being a spin instructor, taking spin classes.
I think I just get completely absorbed into the class. So I really am not like the teacher, I thought I would be. I thought I'd be like, oh, this one,
critiquing them.
The timing's off, No, the only time I will critique a class if they go like from 0 to 120 and then there's no recovery, and it's like crazy when they say, okay, 120, cadence. And I'm like, what? At 50 to 60 or 70 to 80, I'm like, no, come on. That's a little,
come on.
That's a little much.
They need to check their bike calibration if they're going to be throwing out metrics like that. Well, then who's your favorite instructor, or do you have one?
Well, it's changed a lot because when I first started, it was Tunde, and I still love her. And then I kind of feel connected to Emma because I'm from New England, and Emma's, grown up in Martha's Vineyard. And so that whole vibe takes me back to college and old boyfriends and stuff. And she does have a really good knowledge base for music, and for all the musicians, and which I love. And I liked her music. I kind of resonate with her style. But now I'm kind of getting into the whole, the Power Zone. I love Christine. Christine's like my therapist. I mean, she is amazing. I did the Haleakala for the Pelafondo last month. And I mean, she's just incredible. I love Olivia. They're all excellent. I mean, of course, Dennis and Matt. So getting into the Power Zone pack now, I'm starting to see a little bit more of, I love their precision and the way they teach. And it makes sense because, some of these tours, I feel like I'm up in zone 5 through 7. I never recover. And I'm just constantly, and I look at my, metrics, I'm like, oh my God. So I really now I'm learning how to go down to zone 1.
Yeah, you have to do that if you're going to do a lot of riding or a lot of running. Gotta keep it. You got to do that endurance if you're going to be up there for hours. I mean, it's just better for you long term.
And I'm really competitive. Oh my God. I don't know if it's because I was born premature. I was born 6 months early. Ironically, my mom was moving into a new house and my dad, and so I came early. And I don't know if I had
early.
4 pounds. I had to fight, in the isolette, and it made me competitive.
Wow.
6 months. I mean, that's rough today, but yeah.
I mean, that's amazing that you survived that. That's like so early. Like even now they would freak out if like a baby was coming that early. They'd be like, uh-oh. So wow.
But but I can't even imagine like 35 years ago? Is that what? Like
39Y.
Okay.
We're into alphanumeric. Well, one of the good things is I just qualified for Medicare, so I really enjoyed your previous guest too. She gave me a lot of hope.
Oh, Vivian.
Vivian. Oh my gosh, she's amazing.
Amazing.
just a badass. I mean, 85. She's still. Oh my God, she gives me hope. I want to be like that at 85. It's fantastic.
I want to be like Vivian. Viva like Vivian.
Somebody put on my Facebook wall yesterday, or in the group, and they said, "I want to Viv up," and I feel like that could be a new thing.
know.
Like, I think we need to. I think that needs to be a hashtag. We all need to Viv up
instead of live strong, Viv strong.
Yeah.
Well, you're onto something really good. That would be awesome. I can see it on
fabulous.
T-shirts and hats.
Yeah. So when you teach a class, when you teach a class now, do you find that having a Peloton is starting to influence your own instructing style?
Yes.
That's a great question.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think even my fitness level has gone, way, way up. And I think just in, the music especially, and I've always been on top of music, but it's Lizzo, and it's great because I've always done theme rides. I've always done, I do Disney theme. I've done The Matrix, Tarzan, Mamma Mia. I've always done those, but just, I think it's revved me up a couple of notches for sure. And then I've incorporated the 10-minute arms. So we do, we'll do like Tuesdays is just spin core. So it's a 60-minute spin class, and then we do some core. And then Wednesdays I do Spogo, which is like 40 minutes of spin, 10, 15 minutes of upper body strengthening. And then we, go to the mat and we do like kind of like a Pilates with the Pilates ring and the blocks and the bands. And then we go into a yoga. So it's kind of like a circuit, really.
You're like hardcore.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Those are my two definite, happiest days. When I'm done, teaching, I'm like, I really love what I do.
Oh, that's fabulous.
That is good. It's all it makes life so much better if you enjoy what you're doing. Like I'm fortunate enough to enjoy what I do, and I can't imagine not being able to. And Crystal's looking at me now that says, "Shut up."
I love doing this stuff.
Are you guys close enough where you can kick each other under the table, or?
All I have to do is give him a look. Watch.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what that means. That look, my shin just bruised. That's what that look means. I was just kicked.
I remember that look from my mom. She'd give me that look. Wait till your father comes home.
So you've mentioned that the community is super important to you, and you've mentioned a couple of communities. Where do you feel like is the most at home for you for Peloton, and why?
The tour. Definitely the tour. It's the most positive community I've ever been in. I mean, I cannot even imagine when I go on, to a ride, there's like 100 high fives already. I'm like, whoa, I feel like a celebrity. And Ty and Jen, Jill, and Larry, and they have Cody now too. The 5 admins really do an excellent job of keeping everything positive and, making sure that no politics or anything creeps into the, into that group. And it's gone from, I think I joined March 16th, and it's like 15,000 people now. I think I might have been the first, in the first 100 to join.
Wow.
But it's amazing. Yeah. And I just did a circuit today. They have the tour to circuit now, which is why I want to get a Peloton tread. Also because my husband would enjoy it. That's a real reason.
Looks like he's got a birthday present. Yeah, he's got a birthday present coming up, I think. Maybe Christmas or whatever holiday.
Exactly, whatever motivates you. But so they're going to be doing, the one today that I did, we could substitute the bike for the boot camp.
Okay.
But that was fun. That was a lot like the class I teach because it was, stretch, restorative yoga, it's strengthening, core, and boot camp. So it was a lot
really
of fun.
Cool. I don't remember them even having that when we talked to Ty, so that's really cool. I think that's new. That's neat.
Yeah, it came out last week. And they have a great way of getting you excited about, the next one that's coming out. Like tomorrow's Tabata, and everybody's been putting on this is so hard. And I'm thinking, oh no.
Tabata's rough, man.
I'm biting all the fingernails off,
Especially if it's Robin Tabata.
Yeah, it's got a Robin and I think it's Leanne and Hannah. I mean, there's a bunch. So I think it's going to be a tough one. I got to rest up.
My guess is you can pull it off.
Yeah.
I'm
If
thinking-
anybody can, I think you got it.
Yeah. So
I don't know. I'll let you know. More at 11.
Okay.
So as a Peloton user and a spin instructor, do you have any advice for newbies just kind of starting this process?
Definitely just get on and pedal. And then definitely look at your seat setup. Your bike setup is so important, because I think even though I'm used to a spin bike, this is so different. So when I got on for the first little bit, I felt like I was either too far forward. The bike I have, the spin bike I have, is a V bike. You can adjust everything.
Okay.
Forward and aft, up and down. They don't make them like that anymore. I think people are getting too confused. But with the Peloton, I find that I'm still trying to find the right tweaking, for the saddle height and handlebars and whatnot. But I think that's really important, because I started feeling, and I mean, I've been spinning since 1999, so I started getting some pain right above my kneecap,
Yeah.
I said, okay, there's something wrong with my setup. So I went back and looked at Christine's setup, and Hannah too. And I was like, okay, let's reassess this. And I think really is just to get on there and, start with some shorter rides and then build up. And I think the power zone training is really important. I like the fact that there's an FTP test that you can do, and I try to stay in my zone, as much as I can. The only bad thing about the zones is that if you're on the leaderboard and you see people going and they're climbing up and you want to get there, and then he's like, zone 2, and I'm like, the heck with that, like, I'm going to crank it up, because your ego takes over. And I'm like, come on now, you're a grown up, but I'm so competitive. It's like, I don't want to let anybody pass me, and we have some really strong riders in our group. I mean,
yeah, I've given up on that years ago. It's just like, there's always going to be somebody stronger than I am. And every bike is different. So if you and I were doing the exact same ride, we might have a different experience if we just simply switched bikes on the exact same ride.
No, that's true.
And so that's why I'm just like, whatever, it is what it is. I'm going to do what they say. And then
and I mean, there's people on there when we did the hour ride, the Haleakala. Yeah. One of the outputs was 1,050, and mine was like 600, or not even. I think it might have been 500, and I was like, how do they do that? I don't know, because I weigh about 105 pounds. I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
It absolutely has to do with it. It's how much you weigh, but also another thing that's into it is, like, if you have an easier bike or a harder bike than they do, and there are people that literally calibrate their bikes because they think it's too hard. So you can't trust what's out there. You really can't. You cannot compare your numbers to somebody else. All you can do is compare your numbers to your numbers. Anybody else's, you have no idea what they're doing on their end. I mean, I'm not saying everybody is messing with their bikes, because there are people that never touch their bikes. But like, whenever I've gone to the studio and done a ride there, it is completely different. I mean, I remember one ride, it was a milestone ride we did in Chicago, my 400th. And literally I blew my numbers out of the water by like 150.
Wow.
I mean, it was crazy, because it was like, it wasn't challenging. I had to keep increasing the resistance to get where I felt like I usually am at home,
Right.
And so it was completely different. And so that's why you just can't trust that,
Well, ego means edging God out. So
I get it though. Like,
check that at the door before I walk into the spin room.
I get it though. Like, Crystal and I are both very competitive.
Very.
And like, I honestly think that's part of why I don't do sports, is because I am super competitive and I also suck at it. So like, there's just zero enjoyment in that for me.
You would be judging yourself out of the gate.
I'm just like, I suck at this. This is, I'm miserable. Like, so I'm just like, scratching that off of things to worry about.
We're going to have Dr. Jen listen to this episode.
We definitely, that's a good one. That would be
She
great.
mines these for new angles to come at me.
How to live with yourself.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much for taking time to join us today. Before we go, let people know where they can find you on social media if you would like to be found.
Sure. So let's see. my Facebook page is Debra Anzalone, because my maiden name was actually Mercantante. So that's my Facebook page. And then I'm Spoga Deb on the leaderboard. So that's the other one.
Love
and then
that.
Awesome.
we have a Facebook page for our daughter, Prayers for Tracy. And there's
Right.
also
Very
a
nice.
website, but we kind of transitioned after about 12 years of maintaining the website, which it is still there, but we kind of linked it over to Facebook because just more
Gotcha.
people were going on to Facebook. So, yeah, so that's pretty much where I am. I used to have a Facebook page when we had our business, which was Aerospace Medicine Services International, but we've closed that business and we're retired officially. So, but
Congrats.
that was, yeah, that was fun though. We were doing pilot physicals, FAA flight physicals for pilots.
That's cool.
So
Nice.
I actually have a doctorate in public health and health systems management, and so I was
Wow.
the one that started the business.
Is there
did all
anything
the
you
books.
haven't done?
I know.
Like,
When you're a Navy spouse and you move 17 times in 29 years, you have to keep putting on a new hat every place you go. And usually you get the job of your dreams right when it's time to move to the next duty station. So,
I mean, it's cool to see the world, but that's also a difficult. Like, I mean, I just know how much moving sucks. That
That would be tough.
That would be tough.
for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
yeah, it helps clean out your garage. That's a really good thing. Because we've been in this location now since 2006. So we had a huge
Wow.
purge. I was like, that's it. We're purging it all out. We're getting rid of, especially with hurricanes, we had to be able to put the cars in the garage. And
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so we did
Wow.
that. But when you move every 2 years, you have to clean it out.
Totally. Yeah. It's,
a
yeah.
good
You probably
excuse.
buy everything disposable. Who
Yeah.
cares? Yeah.
You have every color towel and shower curtain. And you have
You're
every
ready
time you
for
move,
anything.
oh, let's see, pink. Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us. You sound very busy.
Yes, you do.
So we
Thank you
appreciate
so much.
fitting
Oh,
us in.
no, this was wonderful. I truly enjoyed it. And yeah, thank you so much, too. I'll probably see you on the leaderboard. Not you,
yeah.
Tom,
One of
but
us.
I know I'm going to see Crystal there.
Definitely. And I'll be in touch in a couple of weeks to let you know when everything's going to air and keep you in the loop on that. So, but if you have any
Okay,
questions in the
perfect.
meantime, feel free to reach out. So,
All righty. Thank you.
Okay.
Take
Thank
care.
Thank you.
All
Bye-bye.
right.
Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So I guess that brings this episode to a close. What, pray tell, do you have in store for people next week?
we are going to talk to Jen Myers. And for those of you that are local,
Yes.
this is very exciting.
Yeah, she hosts a morning show on a local radio station. For a long, long time, she's been in local radio. I don't want to make her sound super old.
Because
Let me
she's
take that
not.
back. For an impressive amount of time for her age.
Which I'm pretty sure that's how you introduce her in the.
Yeah. I make the same mistakes a lot in my life. Got the wife one right this time though. So, but yeah, she's on, for local listeners, she's on a radio station called Y98, and she's been there for quite a bit of time. And
I feel like I've made my adulthood listening to her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like she's just always been a part of my daily commute.
totally, and she has a very interesting story
Yes.
to tell us about her journey. So.
Yeah, you guys are not going to want to miss this because there is a lot happening, including a very she's a road rider, so we get to hear about her outdoor riding experience.
Yeah.
You just tune in. You don't want to miss it.
There's some good pictures in that one.
Yeah,
too. So,
yeah.
So anyway, until next week, where can people find you?
People can find me at facebook.com/Crystal D. O'Keefe. They can find me on Instagram, Twitter, on the bike, and of course the tread at Clip Out Crystal.
And you can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online, facebook.com/theclipout. While you're there, like the page, join the group, sign up for our newsletter at theclipout.com so you'll get all these cool pictures and video links and whatnot sent directly to your inbox and you don't got to go hunting for them. And of course, don't forget to swing by our YouTube channel, youtube.com/theclipout, where you can watch the show in its entirety with all our fancy pants screen shares and whatnot, and Crystal making faces at the camera right now. So so anyway, that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, keep pedaling.
And running.
Clip in, set yourself free.